doing, everybody? Welcome to Scott Fox After 9. Today on the pod, you're going to hear from the Premier of Manitoba, Wab Kinew. I've got some audio that I want to play for you from Wab, something that he announced yesterday, and a couple of comments that he made as well. And a shout out to everybody who is listening today in Manitoba. I appreciate you very much. You're also going to hear from former Toronto Raptor, Kyle Lowry. Kyle was playing what is probably his last ever game at Scotiabank Arena last night. He was a longtime Raptor and then eventually signed with the Philadelphia 76ers. And even though the Raptors lost last night, I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about that game because the crowd, when they saw Kyle Lowry come out on the court, probably for the last time ever in Toronto, they went nuts, and it had a really big impact on Kyle Lowry himself. You're also going to hear from the U.S. press secretary. We're going to talk about a number of different issues there, and I'll get you set and ready for what's happening later today when our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, heads off to China. Carney's heading off to China, but in advance of his trip, he has recalled a couple of Liberal members of Parliament that are over in Taiwan. And it's funny because a lot of the people that are very, very critical of the bluster that is coming from the White House about Greenland haven't really had much to say about the relationship between China and Taiwan. Now, the U.S. has come out, and if I'm not mistaken, Canada has as well, and said that if China tries to take over Taiwan, they will help defend Taiwan. Okay, but we are adversaries with China, so how's all that going to work? I'll try and circle back on that before this episode is done. Right now, let's jump into it. I want to take you back to last night in Toronto, Scotiabank Arena, and the crowd wanted Kyle Lowry.
Looking down at Kyle Lowry. North Philly's finest. Entering the game, and look at Tyrese Maxey. A standing ovation for the greatest Raptor of all time.
Kyle was completely touched. You could tell the crowd was going nuts. They were chanting, "We want Lowry." And he's a bench player for the 76ers because he's getting a little older. And, the fact that Nick Nurse, also former Raptors head coach, decided to put Lowry in for the last couple minutes of that game, knowing that it was probably his last opportunity to take the court at Scotiabank Arena, I thought it was amazing. After the game, Kyle Lowry continued to be the classy guy that he was the entire time that he played for Canada's team.
I think that's part of their plan is to, make sure I got an opportunity to get in there. And I got some great teammates and, a great coach who understands the moment, who I have a championship with. But it was a good team win for us. And, I got an opportunity to experience, probably one of the greatest basketball moments of my personal career.
Before that moment, what was it like sitting on the bench and hearing those chants?
I had Trendon Watford, and next to me sitting on the bench. And he was like, "Come on, Kyle, you got to go in, get what you're waiting for." And it was just, it's cool to have teammates like that and just listen to the fans. And that's why I always say, they are the greatest fans in the world to me. They've been supportive of me and my career. And, a lot of the things I've accomplished in my career was in front of these fans. And, that's why, this place is so special to me.
Pretty amazing words coming from Kyle Lowry. Again, I think probably the greatest Raptor of all time. Part of the championship winning team and really embedded in the community. The work that he did and his foundation and his wife did a lot of work on that too for the city of Toronto was simply amazing. And when I say the city of Toronto, I don't just mean Toronto because the Raptors truly are Canada's team. Here's a little more of Kyle Lowry.
When you received the ovation that you did tonight, when you think of your first moments here and how that relationship with the fan base has evolved, what do you think of that evolution and just the sheer love that you have right now?
Well, I think that first year here, it was excitement for a while. I had a good start to that season and a good run, and I think they appreciated me and how hard I played, and I didn't know who I was at the time. I was getting to a point, and I don't think they knew who I was as a fan base, but they continued to just support and show love, and I think once I committed to showing that I was here for the long term, I think they got behind me. And, myself and DeMar at the time, we committed to something special, and we tried to build something special. And I think the fan base at that time, once they seen that, it was like, okay, we can support these guys, and they're our guys.
It's not very often that an athlete who isn't retiring but did have an incredible legacy playing here, it's not very often that they can leave, go to another team, and get a standing ovation every single time they come back. Last night was special. If you were at the game, you were part of history, likely Kyle Lowry's last ever game at Scotiabank Arena, but it was good to see him. I'm glad the crowd was as great as they were, and good luck, Kyle Lowry. I don't know if the Raptors have got a shot at the championship this year, but Philadelphia might, so good luck to him. I'm sure he'd love to win one more ring before he calls it a career. By the way, before I get any further into this episode, I am still hearing from people that listen to the Silent Date Tell-All on Saturday. And I got to tell you, the feedback I'm getting on that episode, a lot of people are saying things like, it was really cool the way you did it with the flashbacks. Thank you. That was a lot of work, but I knew I needed to do that to make that episode as good as it was. I've also had a few people ask, hey, who was that other voice in the podcast? You may have noticed when I did the cutaways, when I did the flashbacks, there was another voice. A voice that probably sounds familiar, right? If you're one of my longtime OG listeners and you used to listen to me do mornings on Z1035 in Toronto way back in the day, I was on in the morning, and then Amanda Logan came on after me, and she was on during the day before the Hammer came on for the afternoon drive. Amanda doesn't work there anymore. I don't work there anymore. Well, I do sometimes. I fill in on weekends. But either way, it was real nice of Amanda, who is still around. She's doing great. Beautiful kids. It was nice of her to jump in and do that little voiceover for me. And nice that I could make her part of that Silent Date Tell-All. Amanda is great, and I really appreciate it. And she also listens to the pod. So shout out to Amanda Logan. That was the other voice that you heard in the Tell-All. Okay, now I'm going to move on. I've still got more stuff that I want to play for you. This time around, let's head out to Manitoba. Manitoba. The premier is Wab Kinew. And yesterday, the premier came out to make an announcement about digital health cards. Instantly, as soon as I said digital health cards, digital ID, some people thought, oh, cool. And other people thought, oh, no. Because a lot of people have heard a lot of bad things about digital ID. I want to let you know that's not the focus of why I'm playing this Wab Kinew stuff, although it is going to be referenced in this audio. Here is the premier speaking yesterday.
I wanted to begin by sharing that earlier today I spoke to Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, and that's after having texted with him and his Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan, last week, pretty much immediately following the terrible tragedy that took place there. So when I had a chance to speak to Governor Walz today, first off, I let him know that we here in Manitoba support our neighbors. We want to be good neighbors here in the north, and of course we just want to see what's happening down there stop. There's so much confusion and so much violence. We just want to see things for our southern neighbors get back to normal. And I offered whatever assistance we can provide, and of course the sense of solidarity that we can send down to our American friends and in many cases family. I know that the loss of a life, to see a mother killed in this fashion, is just terrible. It really pulls at the heartstrings, and we don't want to see these things like this happen. We want all this to end. And regardless of where you stand on immigration, regardless of where you stand on Trump, I think everyone agrees that seeing a mother have her life taken in such a way is just wrong.
It's absolutely wrong. I said that the other day. I really wish that the ICE officer or the ICE agent hadn't shot that woman. But I also wish that she wasn't a paid professional protester. I also wish she hadn't driven her car straight at an ICE agent. There's a lot of different things that could have changed here to have that woman alive today. The whole thing was completely preventable, but I don't know that this is necessarily the... I'm not even surprised. For those who don't know, Wab Kinew is a member of the NDP. He is an NDP premier in Canada, so I guess I'm not entirely surprised that he took that particular angle on this story and that is the part that he thinks is a tragedy. But I'm going to move on. There is a little bit more here, and then I'm going to play some of the Q&A. Again, this is Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew.
The news of the day, we're moving from paper to plastic, and now we're moving from plastic to pixels. You can now get a digital health card. I did mine last night. I just unlocked my phone, and using a secure process, that's how long it took me to pull it up. You got a QR code on it. You can't see my PIN number because it's hidden when you initially unlock it. So there's privacy and all sorts of other features being looked at. But this is just another way that we're modernizing healthcare to meet the needs of you and your family. We've been adding clinics right across the province that are open late into the evening, that are open on the weekends. We've been bringing in the plastic health cards so that people who want to get rid of the paper health cards can do so. I know there's some nostalgia. Some people like the paper health cards because all your kids are on there. That's fine. Keep it that way. But for everyone else who was thinking, it's time for Manitoba to move into the 1980s technology-wise, well, hey, we brought forward the plastic health card. Now, some could argue we're moving into the 2000s, maybe even the 2020s with the introduction of digital health cards. So there's a lot of catch-up you have to do after the PCs cut healthcare for many years. We're here for it. We're putting in the work. So you can book an appointment online to see a doctor and a nurse practitioner near you. You can use a digital health card to do so starting at 5 p.m. today. And this is all part of making sure that healthcare is there for you and your family when you need it.
I'm not sure how giving people a digital health card makes sure that healthcare is there when you need it. Wab Kinew taking a shot at the opposition. That's not entirely surprising because, well, he's very, very partisan for those who don't know. Is there a difference? I like convenience. I certainly do. I carry around a bank card. I don't carry around cash with me very often. That is a practical use of digital, but either way, I still have an actual card. I hope that the plan is not to take away physical cards, and I really hope the plan is not to get people somewhat interested in these digital IDs and then force them to get rid of the card, because there's a lot of people who really don't want anything linked to their health information in a digital format, especially one where, hey, if I lost my phone, then what? What do you do then? Is it going to be a real pain in the ass to replace it? Is it saved in the cloud, or how does that work? I'm really not sure. And to be honest with you, I really don't care. If digital ID is something that they want to implement, fine. As long as it's not mandatory and as long as they do not get rid of the cards. Because, the premier here can take all the shots he wants. But at the end of the day, the current system works pretty well. Everybody gets a card. You take the card. You go to the hospital. They swipe the card. You're good. One of the things that I'm very worried about with these digital ID cards is it's going to be really, really easy for someone who arrives in Canada, probably someone who shouldn't even be here in the first place, to get access to our healthcare. And now you've got to wait for the card. It's got to get processed and printed. Then it's got to get mailed to you. Most of us have got one basically from the time we're born. But people who are new here, they have to wait a little bit. And if I had to speculate a guess, I have a strong feeling that with these digital ID cards for healthcare, number one, we're going to see an absolute boatload of fraud. Absolutely astounding amount of fraud. And I also have a feeling that, again, this one is linked to immigration. It makes it so much easier to get somebody hooked up and on the grid right away. You don't even have to wait to get your health care. We can just issue you a digital ID card. We can email it to you, or you can download it from this website, and bam, you've got the exact same access to health care as people who live here and who have paid taxes here all their lives.
So unlock my phone, it's hooked up to the Face ID thing, and then you can access the digital health card as of 5 o'clock today. In the coming months, hopefully not years, coming months, hunting and fishing licenses, you'd be able to store in this wallet. Timber permits, so when you're going to go cut wood for your logging operation, you can make sure that you got that permit in the Manitoba wallet. But the minister makes a great point about safety and security. So the team's done a lot of work on making sure your private health information is going to be protected and secured. Couple mop-up question answers preemptively, maybe 1.9 million in terms of the cost of getting the digital health card. And for all the conspiracy-minded folks who are running to their YouTube channels, stop. This is not mandatory. We're not making you get a digital ID. Totally optional. It's up to you. If this is going to make your life easier, get a digital health card. If you prefer the plastic health card, that's still there. And if you just like the paper card, which I only found out today, apparently a lot of people are nostalgic for, you can do that too, I guess. So a bunch of options just to make your life easier. Book an appointment to see a doctor online, use your digital health card. Manitoba's government is starting to serve you the way that you expect in our contemporary society.
Okay, that's pretty good from the Premier. I'm glad that he preemptively announced the cost, $1.9 million. That seems fairly reasonable. If I'm being honest, $1.9 million doesn't seem unreasonable to set up this digital system. I'm glad he said that, yes, you'll be able to continue using your card. I think that's essential. But I also think that we got to save that audio and remind him, because I don't believe him. This is how they get us hooked, and that eventually it'll be digital ID only. My other question about this is, what are we doing for kids? There's a lot of moms and dads who carry around their kids' health card in case they have to take their kid to the hospital, and also because you don't trust a kid with a card. How's that going to work? Can you have multiple cards in your wallet? Yours, your kids, your partners, people that you're a caregiver for, all of that sort of thing. I still have some questions, but either way, a little bit of progress there in Manitoba. Again, I'm glad it's optional, and it sounds like it was very good value for money. Now, the Premier is very smug and snide in his commentary there before all the conspiracy theorists get all fired up. Wab, that's not a conspiracy theory. Digital ID is something that people have been worried about for a very long time. And by the way, that idea came right from the World Economic Forum. You're going to hear a lot about the World Economic Forum in the coming days because it's about to fire up for another year. And also, our Prime Minister is going there. Pierre Poilievre has banned all Conservative members of Parliament from any affiliation with the World Economic Forum. Mark Carney is going in completely a different direction. Not only is he going, he's not even hiding the fact that he's going. In fact, many, many, many Liberal members of Parliament will be over in Davos for the annual World Economic Forum. The other thing, too, is former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He's going to be giving a big speech over there because to those on the left, and I know that Trudeau is wildly unpopular here in Canada, but around the world, leftists consider Trudeau a rock star. They love what he was trying to do here in Canada, and they're hoping that Mark Carney will continue on down that road. Last clip, here's just a little bit more of Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew.
You said in your opening comments that the Manitoba PCs have been explaining to the public comments. What specifically were you referring to?
Just before the Premier answers this question, I got to point this out. Some governments have figured it out and some haven't. If you're going to hold a news conference, give a microphone to the people asking the question so that people at home or watching on YouTube or on social media can hear the question and the answer. You've got to mic up the media here. Come on, Wab.
Manitoba PC board member and presumptive candidate in one of the ridings in our province made some comments about ICE in Manitoba. Nobody in Manitoba wants to see that. I mean, both the sort of action that we saw in Minneapolis that saw a mother lose her life, but also about the sort of commentary being brought into our provincial politics that would just demean and cheapen a serious issue like this. So, I was speaking to Governor Walz today and have been, in touch with him and his lieutenant governor since this terrible tragedy happened, and it really just puts things into perspective that we want a maturity and a sincerity in politics, regardless of where you are in the political spectrum, that respects people's lives. And when you see a mother killed, I think it should make everyone pause and bring out their best. Unfortunately, though, from the PCs, we've seen it's brought out their worst. And I think we all know that if we were in the middle of an election campaign, you guys would all be asking how quickly are they going to drop this person? Okay, well, it's up to them to answer that. What I would say on a more substantive and more serious level is this. When you're talking about campaigning and politics at the provincial or federal or whichever sphere, you're really talking about who is fit to lead a government and who has the maturity to make decisions on behalf of the public interest.
I'm going to cut Premier Kinew off here. I've heard enough of this. One of the things that bugs me the most is you get leaders that try and create the illusion that they're willing to work with anybody. They're nonpartisan. They don't care about political stripe. There's no ideology there. Any idea is a good idea. That's the way they try and portray themselves. And that's the way that Premier Wab Kinew here is trying to portray himself. You can't say you're nonpartisan. You can't say that you'll work with anybody, regardless of your political stripe. You can't use a phrase like that and then go to a completely left-wing talking point. I agree with Premier Kinew. It was a tragedy what happened in Minneapolis. I don't know why he'd phone Governor Tim Walz. There's a lot of controversy surrounding him and massive mismanagement and fraud in his state. Minneapolis is the city with a mayor who is taunting ICE and basically encouraging people to resist. ICE isn't the problem here. ICE is doing the job that they were told to do. Their job is to get rid of people that are not supposed to be in America. People like Wab Kinew here seem to forget the law was broken the moment that person crossed into the States illegally, and all ICE is doing is getting rid of them. Now, I still feel like that ICE agent, if they really wanted to, probably could have stepped aside and avoided the vehicle, but once they start driving a vehicle at you, anything goes. And I wish the cop hadn't pulled the trigger. Really wish he hadn't. I think that there was other ways they probably could have disabled the vehicle, or they had the plate, just follow her and pull her over as normal. But in a split-second decision where somebody's driving a car at you, that's what the ICE agent opted to do. He pulled the trigger. She's dead. There's a lot of things that could have happened for her to not be dead. I don't know why Premier Kinew is trying to exploit this situation. He's also trying to call out the Manitoba PCs because they support ICE and they'd like a similar setup in Canada. Just so Premier Kinew knows, we're not all on the same page on this particular issue. There's enough Canadians out there that have had enough of seeing our immigration system abused and seeing the stress that it puts on all of our social services. Our social safety net is being taken up by people who shouldn't be here and who never paid taxes here in the first place. That takes away from people who do live here and do pay taxes. The sentiment in Canada is real. We don't have to pretend it's not. There are a lot of people here that want to see mass deportations of people that are not supposed to be here. So while Premier Kinew may stand up there and say nice things like regardless of your political stripe, he has a political stripe. It's very obvious what his ideology is. Very, very obvious. It's dishonest of the premier to present himself in that way. He should just lean in and say, hey, listen, I am a far left premier. I have far left ideology. I think ICE is wrong and they should get out of Minneapolis. And I think America should be overrun by immigrants and people that shouldn't be there. Why don't you just say it, Wab? That's basically what you're saying. But anyway, back to the core of the announcement. That was about healthcare and the fact that they're introducing digital ID. Just yesterday, I talked about Ontario Premier Doug Ford's obsession with Donald Trump, his obsession with alcohol, and the fact that it doesn't seem like we're really paying attention to a lot of the other issues that Ontarians want dealt with. Well, I guess somebody at Queen's Park was listening because lo and behold, right away, they were very quick to get on top of the healthcare announcement that they made. They've connected more people with a family doctor. Well done. Here's Ontario Premier Doug Ford.
This January marks 1 year since our government launched Ontario's Primary Care Action Plan. Under the leadership of our Minister of Health, Sylvia Jones, and Dr. Jane Philpott, since then, we've made major progress on our plan to connect everyone in Ontario to a family doctor or primary care team. We're investing $2.1 billion to set up new care teams across the province, and we're on track to connect more than 300,000 people to primary care this year. We've also reduced Ontario's Healthcare Connect waitlist as of January 1st, 2025 by over 75%. These investments are making a real difference in communities across Ontario, and we're going to keep working hard to connect everyone in Ontario to convenient, high-quality primary care close to home.
Really? That's it? There's no other details the Premier of Ontario wants to share with the people of Ontario. No other details. Well, it didn't take long to figure out. There's still 1.98 million Ontarians that don't have a family doctor. How did it get this far out of control? Is that all immigration, or how did it get this bad? It wasn't that long ago that anybody who wanted one had a family doctor or access to one. How did we get to a point where 1.98 million people don't have a family doctor? I did a little bit of research last night. I wanted to find out how many patients does the average family doctor have on their roster? Now, I saw varying answers, but the one that I'm led to believe is the most accurate is between 1,000 and 1,500 patients. That's how many patients the average family doctor has. So let's use the high-end number. Let's assume that every family doctor has 1,500 patients. Well, we have 1.98 million people that need a doctor. Let's do the math. How many doctors does Ontario need? 1,365 new doctors, just so that everybody has a family doctor. 1,365. Where are we going to get 1,300 new doctors? And by the way, that's only assuming that none of the current doctors retire or die. And they say they're going to have this problem fixed by 2029. I'm wondering, maybe we should have a public inquiry. How did it get this bad? How did that many millions of Ontarians end up without a family doctor? We have this great free healthcare system in Canada, right? Well, no, it's not great and it's not free. Certainly not free. We pay a lot of money in our taxes through that or for that healthcare system. And is it really great when 1.98 million people don't have a doctor? Is it really that great when people are waiting 12 hours in the emergency room? Before the province takes a victory lap on healthcare, I'd like to see a little more work done, and I want to see a lot more attention paid to this. There's nothing more important for our province to do than get our healthcare system right. It has got to be done right. And frankly, I'm worried that it's not being done right. I really think we need to look at bringing in external companies to run the hospitals. A complete overhaul of the healthcare system. We need it. We have proven that government cannot run, well, really anything, especially not a healthcare system. What was it Doug Ford said? He spent $2.1 billion. And we got 300,000 people connected to primary care, but there's still 1.98 million that don't have primary care. One of the guys who I like a lot, I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but I certainly love the way he says it, is Ron Butler, the mortgage guy. If you're not following Ron on social, it's at Ron Mortgage Guy. He's got some interesting commentary from time to time, and yesterday he put out a video talking about Canada's debt. Listen to this.
A lot of people get bored by talk about deficits. If you talk about government deficits like the federal deficit, provincial deficit, people just say, yeah, well, I don't know. I'll tell you why it's so fucking important, and it is important. It's really, really important, because if you let governments run massive deficits, sooner or later, someone has to pay. At least you have to pay the interest every year. The interest is growing so big, it's bigger than defense, okay? It's bigger than so much. I mean, and it just keeps mounting. You want to know the worst thing about deficits in Canada? We let the provinces run deficits. Yeah, Newfoundland almost went broke, for God's sakes. I mean, I'm not mad at you, Newfoundland, but it happened. So they're spiraling out of control. Like, the Ontario deficit is just fucking crazy big. Guess what? BC, they've blown their fucking budgets apart. They've pissed money away down both legs in BC, the provincial government. Manitoba, just small province. I mean, they shouldn't be running such big deficits. Huge, just massive deficit they're running there. They were surprised. Wonder what happened, okay? You spent too fucking much money. Let me tell you the final horror show of these deficits, because people don't notice. You know where you notice it? You notice it is they always find a way to tax you more. They need to tax us in Canada so fucking much because they overspend so much. If you can just run deficits, you just keep overspending. It doesn't mean anything. Oh, 48 billion. Oh, let's do 85 billion. Oh, let's do 100 billion. Who can? Yeah, they can never take their foot off the pedal of tax because they need the money to feed the deficit. So that's what it's all about. when you see your tax dollars wasted, when you see your tax dollars pissed away, when you see your tax dollars destroyed, they're being destroyed by deficits just as fast, or worse, probably worse. And that means there's never going to be lower taxes. And I'll tell you one goddamn thing for sure in Canada, we need lower taxes.
Truer words have never been spoken. We need tax relief in this country. We need tax relief in this country. What else do I want to do in this episode? I have so many different things that I could do. You know what? I think what I want to do is call out just a little bit of hypocrisy. I'm going to do that after we do the White House press secretary. We'll do Carolyn Levitt, then we'll do hypocrisy. Listen to the press secretary answering questions yesterday outside the White House.
Hi, Caroline. I'm Jerome Powell. President Trump has mentioned on multiple occasions that the administration could probably bring a lawsuit against him. Did the president ever direct DOJ officials to open an investigation into Powell?
No.
And can you reassure the American public that his longstanding criticisms and public comments about Powell had nothing to do with the investigation?
Look, the president has every right to criticize the Fed chair. He has a First Amendment right, just like all of you do. And one thing for sure, the president's made it quite clear, is Jerome Powell is bad at his job. As for whether or not Jerome Powell is a criminal, that's an answer the Department of Justice is going to have to find out, and it looks like they intend to find that out.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. President Trump thinks the chairman of the Federal Reserve is not good at his job. And while it's probably not appropriate for me to comment too much on American fiscal policy, I'm certainly qualified to talk about Canadian fiscal policy. And I'm going to one-up them and suggest that our chairman of the Federal Reserve, although here we call them the governor of the Bank of Canada, that son of a bitch Tiff Macklem, I'm going to suggest that he also is really bad at his job. But since interest rates came up and since the Federal Reserve came up, I do want to give you just a couple of examples of hypocrisy to end this episode. Let's go back just 2 years. 2 years. 2024. This was before Donald Trump was sworn in for his second term as president. Elizabeth Warren, prominent senator from America, and Elizabeth Warren is a Democrat. That's the Hillary Clinton party. This is Elizabeth Warren, in her own words, speaking on CNBC. This is a politician, senior politician, asking that interest rates be lowered, interfering with the Fed. Listen to this.
He waited too long, and the best way you can show that you waited too long and that you get it and that you are becoming more responsive to where we are on interest rates is actually go ahead and do a nice big rate cut. Keep in mind that keeping those rates high, as he has done, keeping those interest rates so high, actually has contributed to our measure of inflation.
And Elizabeth Warren was absolutely right there. Just so you know, I have absolutely zero problem with anything that Elizabeth Warren said. I don't think it should be taboo for our politicians to question interest rates and to question our monetary policy. I don't think it should be taboo at all because it directly impacts the people of the country. Now, in her case, it's America. I think it was fair game for her to be critical of Jerome Powell. I think it was fair game for her to ask for lower interest rates. And I thought it was interesting that she was calling for a big interest rate cut. Well, things have changed because the Democrats aren't in power anymore. Now the Republicans are in power. Now, Donald Trump is the one who agrees with Elizabeth Warren and wants to see interest rates come down. Well, lo and behold, now the Democrats have changed their position. Here's the latest from Elizabeth Warren.
The infrastructure that keeps this stock market strong and therefore a big part of our economy strong and therefore a big part of the world economy strong is the idea that the big pieces move independent of the politics, that somebody is making her best decisions economically and independently. We understand that if the New York Stock Exchange, if interest rates in the United States are subject to a president who just wants to wave his magic wand, this doesn't distinguish us then from any other two-bit dictatorship around the world.
Oh my, dictatorship now. Holy. It's all hypocrisy. It's all gaslighting. They will completely change their opinion on a dime to suit themselves and to suit the narrative of the day. And the narrative right now is anything Trump is bad. If Trump wants it, we don't. If he doesn't want it, we do. Even if you were steadfast in your principle that it's totally okay to call for a rate cut, totally okay to criticize the Fed. Imagine that just because Donald Trump agrees with you, you change your opinion. It's shocking. Completely shocking. You know what? I don't even need to give you another example. I think everybody gets the point here. I think everybody understands what's going on here. The media will not call out Elizabeth Warren for that obvious double standard, but whatever. It is what it is. Today, the Prime Minister is going to head off to China. This is an interesting one because the same Prime Minister that's flying over to China today had previously said China is our biggest adversary, our biggest threat. We know that the Chinese have interfered in Canadian elections. We know that the Chinese are currently tariffing Canadian products at 100% in some cases. And that's in response to us putting a 100% tariff on their electric vehicles. China is very interested in taking over Taiwan. We have some liberal members of parliament over there. Actually, there's conservative and liberal members of parliament over there doing a visit to Taiwan. The Prime Minister's office has requested they get out of Taiwan before Prime Minister Carney ends up in China because he doesn't want to make that an embarrassing situation for Xi Jinping. Ooh. Actually, it would be an embarrassing situation for Carney as well, because I have no doubt that the Chinese would definitely call him out for that. But the thing is, we have a pro-Taiwan policy in place. Why is Carney recalling those MPs? The conservative members of parliament that are over in Taiwan, they're staying. They're going to finish their trip, whether it's embarrassing to Carney or not. Why are the liberals coming back? And what does that say about our stance on Taiwan? Weren't we there and promising to support and defend the Uyghurs? I thought we were. That was always Canada's foreign policy. Although, if we want to make a deal with China, which apparently Mark Carney does, I don't know what that's going to mean for our support for the Uyghurs. I don't know what that's going to mean for Taiwan. I don't know. I'm really not sure. But it's about to get interesting. There are reports from various media outlets that the Prime Minister is close to a deal that would allow Chinese electric vehicles to get away from the 100% tariff that we have imposed. How's Doug Ford going to feel about that? Because Doug Ford has been adamant that we cannot drop that 100% tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles. We just can't do it because it's not fair. They'll flood the market and it's going to hurt some of our other automakers. How is the Prime Minister going to stick handle this one? By this time tomorrow, when I record the Wednesday episode of Scott Fox After 9, we should have a better idea of how that is going to play out. Friends, have yourselves a great day. Thank you for checking into this episode. I hope something in here was appealing to you, and we'll do it all over again in less than 24 hours. I'm going to leave you now with the sounds of Pat James and The Whole Truth. Hey now.